I'm going to tell you something that you must never forget. It's not the violin, it's the violinist. And he took my little violin and played like an angel. You know, and he was a big guy with that little violin. You know, it looked like a little toy. And that music just, I went like, okay, you got me. I want to play like that. I want to do that. I want to do that.
Who was your first influential mentor in violin?
My first violin teacher was probably my biggest influence. Eligiusz Stoinski. He was Polish, and he had come to Venezuela from Poland to play with the Maracaibo Symphony, which is an amazing orchestra in Venezuela. I remember very vividly, again, my first lesson. It was raining. It was raining, you know, in Venezuela, being a tropical country. When it rains, it rains. And then it walks in this man who was a tower. He was so tall and bold, with very little white hair and this blue eyes, deep and very serious, very stoic, you know. And then he looked at me and he says, "Are you my first student?" And I go like, I was the only kid there. So I said, "Yes, I am." Man, the love that he gave me, the support and dedication. Tough love, but good tough love. You know, sometimes a teacher can be tough and mean. I don't think he was ever mean to me. But man, did he yell at me sometimes. He saw something in me that I didn't see until many, many years later. As a teacher, I understand that now. I didn't understand it then. And at one time, I quit. I was maybe 10 or 11. I said, "I'm done. I can't do this. I suck at it," you know. He drove to my house and sat with me in the porch of my house and said, "Listen, this is, like, explain to me that it was tough, that I would just find that I was being just too tough on myself. You know, in violin is like you get to this plateau and then the uphill is like straight up, you know, then it's a plateau. You know, it's not an easy curve, you know." He brought me back. He had a heart attack at the end of his life. He was not doing well. And he was in the hospital. And we went to visit him. And then he said, he looked at me and says, "What are you doing here without your violin? Let's have a lesson." And I go, "But you're in the hospital." So we had to sneak in the violin into the hospital. Our favorite piece is the Beethoven Violin Concerto. You know, it's a piece that he loved and a piece that I love. At this point, he didn't hide anything from me. His feelings, everything. He will tell me stories about the war and how he came from Poland and ended up in Venezuela. And that dedication as a teacher, you know, just ingrained. It's tattooed in my heart. I love teaching, and it's because of him. Anyway, he didn't talk much at the beginning. He put the violin in my hands, and this sounded bad. You know, obviously the violin is a terrible beginning instrument. There's scratches, and then he said, "I'm going to tell you something that you must never forget. It's not the violin, it's the violinist." And he took my little violin and played like an angel. You know, and he was a big guy with that little violin. You know, it looked like a little toy. And that music just, I went like, okay, you got me. I want to play like that. I want to do that. I want to do that.
So it wasn't just about teaching you bowing. It wasn't about just teaching you fingering. It was
a whole.
It was kind of, it seems like it was the artistry of being a musician.
He said that he was not only raising a violinist, he was raising a good citizen, somebody that was going to do something good in the world. And that got to me as well. The little cliche that you have to leave the world a better place than when you found it. One more thing I want to say about him, as he was feeding me music, and my dad was feeding me music, and at some point we'll talk about my trips to the record store. Every time I would listen to something, I remember the first time I discovered the Beethoven Violin Concerto, and I came and I listened, "I want to play this," and I was 9 years old. And he didn't say no. He opened it and he let me play a few notes, and I realized after the third note, it was really hard. And then he says, "Work your way towards it." He never told me I couldn't do something. And that was crucial. Yeah.
And it also seems to me, and correct me that one of his greatest gifts that it seems like he gave you is the vision of you being able to see yourself as a musician, as an artist, as a soloist, as what you could become.
Yes, absolutely. It took me a while because I doubted, like anybody else, I doubted myself.
So, Jesus, one of the things that I would like to do as we're introducing, and in some respects, to some people, reintroducing you, because you have had such a great career, is, allow you to show your artistry and demonstrate your artistry, play us out with a piece of music that kind of has some tie to what we've been talking. What are you going to play for us for this first episode?
Well, I mean, I thought about this long and hard. One day, my dad says, okay, first trip to the record store. The man who ran the store came and asked me a few things. He recommended this recording of Vivaldi, of L'Estro Armonico. I grabbed the record and I dropped the needle. And there was this violin concerto in G major. That record I still have it to this day. That drop of the needle, the first time at the record store in that Vivaldi G major violin concerto. That's what I'm going to play for you. Just because it's so happy. The key of G major is just a happy key.